What's up, Generation GC fam? My name is Molly Hudelson. I'm your host, and welcome to episode 19, We Believe, from the Chronicles of Life and Death, Good Charlotte's 2004 third album, with Shannen Carlton. Last week, we talked about A New Beginning from The Young and the Hopeless, and next week, we'll be talking about a song from Good Morning Revival. Shannen is Australian, and she can't remember a time where Good Charlotte weren't her favorite band. She started a Twitter account called Team Joel Madden in her teens, which she says changed her life in an awesome way, and it helped her meet a lot of awesome people all over the world. She's made a lot of memories through Good Charlotte and that Twitter account that have stayed with her forever. Shannen is currently residing in Toronto, Canada, and is listening to pop punk tunes to get her through everything going on right now. So, I know I have mentioned before a petition to demand justice for Breonna Taylor. At the time I'm recording this, Sunday, August 2nd, the petition is at over 8 million signatures, which means it has met the threshold of signatures needed in order to be placed into a queue of issues for the White House and Congress to address. However, please continue spreading the word about that petition. Please sign it if you haven't already, because the more signatures that are on there, the higher in the queue Breonna's case will be placed. As a reminder, also, please visit blacklivesmatters.card.co for info on how you can help in the Black Lives Matter movement. There's info on there about protests, how to donate, where you can donate, as well as how to educate yourself, and a whole bunch of petitions that you can and should sign. And finally, Generation GC stickers are here. Do you want a sticker? There is 2 ways you can get one. Number 1, support the show on Anchor. Go to anchor.fm/generationgcpod and click support. That helps me sustain the show. Just make sure I have the right equipment, microphones, headphones, all the little extra doodads just to keep the show going. It also helps me do things like print stickers and get them mailed to you guys. Number 2, you can make a charitable donation. This week, I am also encouraging anyone listening to donate to your local food bank. A lot of people are out of work right now, thanks to the pandemic. And in the US, the $600 extra a week that people were receiving on unemployment has run out. Having food is a right, and if you don't have enough to eat, you're not even thinking about anything else. So, you are going to either support the show on Anchor, donate to a charitable organization such as your local food bank, and then send me a screenshot of that donation or support, as well as your mailing address. You can DM me on Twitter or Instagram at GenerationGCPod, or email GenerationGCPod@gmail.com, and then I will mail you stickers. I'll also occasionally tweet or post on the Instagram story other ways that you guys can get stickers, whether that's good deeds you can do or ways to help spread the word about the show and keep it going. I know these intros tend to be pretty long, but, it's my chance to connect with everyone, spread the word about things that I think need to be talked about, whether or not they come into context of the episode. This episode, I think, is a great conversation, and I hope it leads to continued conversations. This is a movement. It's not a hashtag. It's not a moment. It's a movement, and it means it's something we need to constantly be thinking about and working on. All right, well, that's about it. On to episode 19.
So, we are talking about We Believe today. We Believe is track 12 on Good Charlotte's third album, The Chronicles of Life and Death. It follows Mountain, and then after this is It Wasn't Enough. The album came out fall 2004, but this came out as a single in August 2005, which I remember at the time being like, that's like weird timing, but apparently it coincided with some festival appearances in Europe, so I guess they kind of wanted something to push. I don't know. They have played this song live. They played it a bunch, like when the album was released, 2004, 2005. They played it in Jakarta a few times in 2007. And then they played it in 2019. Well, they didn't play the whole song, but in 2019, they played at a festival in Monterrey, Mexico. They played the chorus of We Believe twice and then went right into prayers, which we will dive a lot more into We Believe versus prayers in a bit. There is a music video for this song released August 2005, which we'll talk about more. Chart notes, I always like to look up what positions a song charted. This song did not really chart, I don't think. I looked up on the Billboard chart history, and I didn't really see it doing well. Apparently, like, every other single from this album went to the top 30 in the UK. But I don't think this charted in the US either. Were you in Toronto, or were you still in Australia when?
No, I was definitely in Australia then.
So was this song big in Australia?
No, I don't ever actually remember this being big, but also back then, so 2004, I want to say, is when I first got into Good Charlotte, and I was like 10 years old. Yeah. So I don't fully remember if it even came out on the radio in Australia. Definitely, like, I Just Want to Live and the other singles did, but I can't remember We Believe because I've never seen them play it in Australia ever. So I don't believe so.
Yeah. Well, let's talk more about you discovering Good Charlotte for the first time when you were 10. What was it like for you, Shannen, finding Good Charlotte? Did they have like a really big presence in Australia at that time?
Yeah, they totally did. I think when I was younger, they were like kind of royalty in Australia. Okay. I would say they were on the radio all the time. They were on all our like music channels. Anytime they'd come to Australia, they were on like MTV or Channel V was a big thing in Australia. But yeah, I was 10 when I first listened to a Good Charlotte song. I remember I was at a family friend's house for like a barbecue or something, and he played guitar and he was in a band, and we were in his room and he like was playing me some CDs, and he played the anthem, and I remember just being like, oh my god, this is so cool. What is this?
What is this? Like, yeah.
I was like, this is so cool. Like, I grew up, my dad was really into like classic rock, like AC/DC and a bunch of and a bunch of like Australian bands that were kind of big back then. So I grew up with like music in my house all the time, and I was like a fan of it. But yeah, I don't know. I think I listened to the anthem the first time and I was just like, this is like a whole new world. What is this? So my friend was like, I can, like, back in the day, he's like, I'll burn you a copy of the CD. So I took a burnt copy home, and then like that was it. My life changed. But I think that was like 2004, and I was like 10 years old then, I think.
So had Chronicles come out yet?
No, I don't believe it had, but I was going to say Chronicles was the first actual album that I went out and like bought. I was young, but I like somehow, maybe my mom gave me the money actually, but I was like, I really want to get this CD. So I remember going to the store and like picking it out, but I don't ever remember like waiting for the album to come out. So I don't think I was like at the age where I knew anything about that.
Right.
I just knew there was one out, so I wanted to go and buy it.
Yeah, I get that. I think, by the way, that you and I had somewhat of a similar experience in that we grew up with a lot of music.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, like this is awesome, but it's something special when you find like that one band.
Yeah, that like, one thing like that is yours, that you chose to listen to and you like. And honestly, if you spoke to my family, it's really funny because like as soon as I discovered Good Charlotte, it was like my whole family had to know who they were and had to listen to them all the time. Yep. My mom, I would forcefully put them on in the car all the time. Back when I was younger, so there was no like iPhone or iPod or anything. So
so it was CDs.
Yeah, literally. And it would be like, we'd play one and then I'd be like, okay, swapping to the next one.
Did your parents get the commentary? Because my parents would get the commentary on like, well, see, like this is the best song on this album, but like it's not popular.
I mean, not really. I kind of am more of I like music is like one of my favorite things in the whole world, and I love it. But like, I feel like whenever I was like in the car as a passenger playing music like that I liked to my parents, I would just sit there in silence because I was like, I want them to listen to every single word.
I just took a sip of water and I almost like spat it all over my microphone. But,
Oh
like,
no.
I get that.
Well, yeah, I was just like, I'm going to sit here and look out the window and enjoy the music and make sure that they're listening to everything.
I love it. So you started a Twitter account in 2010, the Team Joel Madden Twitter. So what made you want to start that account?
This is so funny. You can't see me, but I'm like blushing right now. I get like so embarrassed talking about this. I don't even know why. Yeah, so 2010, that's really crazy because that's literally 10 years ago. I hadn't even thought about that. That's yeah, so I was like 15 or 16 at the time, I think. So as I said, like I discovered the Charlotte when I was like 10, but I guess it wasn't until 2007 when I saw them live for the first time, and I was 13 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So by then, I didn't have any social media. I didn't have any, like, the internet was very new to me. I was going into my first year of school and everything, so all of that was kind of not a thing. But I remember seeing Good Charlotte for the first time, and then like the day after, I logged onto goodcharlotte.com. At the time, that was like a big thing. And I made a profile, and then like from then I was like, okay, this is where I can like find my people.
Yes.
I had no one in like real life that real life, but like no one I knew in person really that like really liked them, so I couldn't talk about it that much to people without them getting annoyed with me. So yeah, I guess
relate.
So I joined goodcharlotte.com and I met a bunch of really cool people on there. And then I don't remember what year it was, but it must have been close to when I made the Twitter. I think like Joel and Benji made a Twitter, right? So I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to go follow them on Twitter.
That's like when I made a Twitter, I think, when they made Twitter.
I didn't really know what it was before that, I guess. And then I remember like seeing that they were on this thing called Twitter. So I was like, cool, I'm going to make one.
Yep.
I'm honestly pretty sure I made one just like a regular one that was my name or something. And then a little while after that, I was like, no, you know what? I don't actually know the full thought process, but I was like, I want one that like I can talk about what I like. And at the time, like Good Charlotte and Joel Madden were like my favorite thing in the world. So I was like, I want one that I can talk about what I like and meet people who like the same thing as me that's not just affiliated with like my name.
Right.
So that is probably why I made that Twitter.
I love that. And you've made a lot of friends through GC, right?
I have, yeah. Like I live with one right now in Toronto, which is really crazy. But
I love that.
I have.
Literally bringing people together.
Yeah, 100%. I guess like making that Twitter was one of the coolest things like I could have ever done with my life, which sounds really strange, but like looking back at it, like I was 15 or 16 and I had like my high school friends and, you know, my real life people, but I making that kind of opened a new world where I could like talk to people who understood what I wanted to be talking about. And so I guess that kind of blew up a bit because Good Charlotte went on the hiatus and then Joel was announced as like a coach on The Voice Australia. And I'm from Australia. Yeah, so I remember that like that Twitter was just like people from goodcharlotte.com followed me there, and like Joel tweeted me back a couple of times. So,
so like Team Joel Madden, they're like, oh, this is like Team Joel Madden on The Voice. Okay.
Yeah. So then like when The Voice got announced, like I had Channel 9, which was the channel that had The Voice playing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And like The Voice had made a Twitter and stuff like that. And I had people like that reaching out to me, like wanting to send me things like posters of Joel to give out to people and stuff. And I was like, this is so strange. I'm just like a girl from Melbourne.
So
but I'll never forget like the first night The Voice aired, my phone was just blowing up, like it was exploding. And I got so many new followers because people just assumed that I was a part of like Team Joel and The Voice. Yeah. For all those years of The Voice, it was a bit crazy with like people like messaging me thinking I'm Joel and stuff like that. It was very crazy. But I met a lot of people through that Twitter who I have now gone on to like meet in real life and in places all over the world when I've traveled and stuff. And it's been a really cool experience having that.
What do you think it is about Good Charlotte that has helped bring people together so much?
I just think back to like me being young and listening to the music, and obviously you connect to the music and the lyrics, right? And that's kind of what makes you fall like in love with the band.
Right.
And I guess people who listen to them all have that common experience of like understanding the lyrics or relating to something. And I think that just relating to things brings people together. And then in the new age of like social media, it made it a lot easier for people to then reach out and find other people who wanted to talk about the same things that they did. And I think that Good Charlotte just come from such a like humble and grounded place that it makes it easy for people to relate. I think that's the most important thing. People can relate, and then you find other people who relate in the same way as you do, and instantly you want to be friends, you know?
Yeah. I was just listening to an interview that Billy did recently on the BeatStars podcast, and like the podcast, the hosts, they were just like, wow, like you are really humble. And you really could tell you really could tell that he is, and that, you know, just very down to earth. Listeners, by the way, if you haven't heard Billy's interview on the BeatStars podcast, I would definitely recommend checking that out. It's a great listen.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it either, so I'm going to have to go listen to it after this.
Yeah. One last question before we dive into all things we believe. And I don't know why I didn't think of this when I was doing my notes, Shannon, but so from my experience as a Good Charlotte fan in the US, when Cardiology came out, like people in the US did not care. Like they didn't give a shit. Yeah. But from what I understand, Cardiology was kind of big in Australia. Like some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what songs from Cardiology were popular in Australia? And like, did you kind of, did you know that like the album just was not popular in other parts of the world?
I think I did, because at that time I was like connected with people in other places, especially the US. I had a lot of people online that I knew from the US. Yeah, I don't think I knew to what extent or anything like that, how big it was, or if it did well, or like how many people went to shows or anything like that. But I do know that in Australia, Cardiology did like really well. They had a bunch of singles, because I'm pretty sure, like, I remember Sex on the Radio was a single in Australia, and it was on Australian radio. But
such a great song.
I don't think that was anywhere else, or not in the US at least, I don't remember. Yeah, such a jam. I love that song. But yeah, because I remember going to see them in 2011 for the Cardiology tour that they did in Australia, and they were like in that year they were still playing, like they used to play big arenas in Australia, so to a lot of people, and that was still a big arena show that I remember going to. But I guess like from memory, when Cardiology came out, they did a lot of promotion in Australia as well. Like they come out there and do a lot of radio shows, do a lot of TV appearances. So they kind of were always in the public eye. So even if you'd forgotten about Good Charlotte, you turned on your TV and was watching, like, there was a show called like Rove Live, and everyone watched that on
and they were there
night, and John won it. And, you know, you'd watch it and be like, oh yeah, that band. And then you'd probably hear that there's a new album, and if you used to be into them, you probably were like, oh, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, from memory, it was a big, like they did a lot of promotion for it, so it was pretty big in Australia.
Huh. That makes me happy that like it was big. At least it was big somewhere, because it wasn't big in the US, and I think it's a great album.
Yeah, it is a good album.
But let's get on to We Believe, which is our topic of discussion. So yeah. You know, we connected on Twitter. I think it was like right when I started the podcast Twitter. I probably just like followed a whole bunch of like Good Charlotte related accounts.
Yeah, probably.
So, I mean, you gave me a whole list of songs. I think pretty much all from Chronicles.
Yeah, they were all Chronicles songs. Yeah.
One of them being We Believe. So what sticks out to you about Chronicles to like make it your favorite, I'm guessing? And then what made you specifically want to talk about We Believe? Yeah,
okay. So I was kind of thinking about you asking me this question earlier, and honestly, like back when I was a teenager, if you had asked me, like The Young and the Hopeless would have been my favorite album, and I would have been like, I want to talk about like Wondering or something like that. Like that was my album, as like a lot of people choose for their favorite Good Charlotte album, because it's a jam. But I think as I grew up and I matured, Chronicles just kind of like hit differently. I guess I used to be in a band, and when I started writing my own lyrics, I feel like I connected to the songs on Chronicles a lot more. I found a love for like a darker vibe with the music and the songwriting. So I guess that's why Chronicles became my favorite album, and I can say now it is my favorite Good Charlotte album. And then We Believe, which is funny because like I'm just saying how I love like the darker vibe, but We Believe.
Yeah, and We Believe is like the least like dark song.
Yeah, it really is. But like I guess it's been one of my favorites forever. Like as soon as We Believe comes on, if my friend's on shuffle or whatever, and it comes on and you hear like the first drums, I always just get this same feeling in my chest of like, I love this song so much. But I guess I love a song that has like a powerful message, and I think that the powerful message that it's saying is still really relevant today, and I think it will be relevant for a long time to come. I like that you can hear like, I guess I'd explain it like whenever I listen to it and that first line comes in, I always think like you can hear the pain in Joel's voice about what he's talking about. I love that when you can evoke like emotion through your singing, right?
It's like he has this awareness of what's going on, and he feels a duty to say something about it.
Yeah, and just that first line of like when he's like, "There's a woman crying out tonight." I don't know how he sings that. I always just get that, and I guess like the guitar in it is like beautiful. So whenever I listen to that, I'm always just like hit in the chest with all these feelings. Yeah, and I guess it's just speaking to like universal pain and suffering, which I think most people can relate to, even if you've never been through something as tragic as the next person. Everyone still has suffering and pain in their life at some point. So I guess I'm just someone who loves a song that's sad and evokes emo feelings. But at its core, the song's also empowering. So I think bringing that together is like why I always gravitate to that being one of my favorite songs ever.
Yeah, it's definitely empowering, and that's why I picked this to do right now. You know. And
when you got back to me and said like, "We Believe," I was like, "Oh man, we can have so much to talk about right now."
Yeah, it's I'm relatively healthy. I'm young. I'm pretty much healthy, but people are still getting sick with COVID-19 all the time. Even people who are in their mid-20s like us, are getting it and they're dying. And there's on top of that, the Black Lives Matter protests are making a lot of progress, but still it's like every day you're hearing about, someone else getting murdered by cops.
Yeah. And I think it's that thing of like bringing it back to like social media, and that I don't think us as humans are built to have this much like bad and negative news in our face 24/7.
No, we're definitely not.
No, we're not. And like as you said, you're healthy and you haven't been exposed to it and you're not getting sick. But like just because like we're not, doesn't mean every time I log onto my phone I'm not reading about someone who has, or as you said, the Black Lives Matter stuff. Like it's all so terrible, and it's just kind of like I just think that it's very relevant to this song, everything that's happening right now.
Yes, it's definitely relevant, and I think you had a really good point that humans are not meant to take in so much negative information. And like I recognize that this is like a very privileged thing to say, that I can do this. But I've put myself on a bit of a social media diet and a news diet, not when I feel that part of me that's like, you've seen too much on the internet today, I log off. I put on like some unrelated funny YouTube videos or whatever TV
and just
show.
Kind of get your mind away from it for a little bit. Yeah, I love that. It's hard, right? Because like it's nice to be able to do that, but then I guess that there are people who are in the midst of it who can't do that, and it's kind of like that thing where not everyone can equally get away from it.
It's I drove, I will drive up to my parents' house and get on the highway, and I haven't been pulled over in a long time, but like I even think about it, it's like there's been times where I've been pulled over and have been let off, and I'm like, wow, that might not have turned out that way if I had not been white.
Or like I actually don't think I've ever been pulled over, so I can't relate to that. But I've read I've been reading so much stuff over the past weeks. I want to like be as educated as I can with everything going on, and like as everyone's saying, we're not like, you can say you're not racist, but like it's more important to be educated and inform yourself and
completely
be an ally, right, as the best you can be. So that's what I've been trying to do, and I just read so many things about like I've never had to be scared of talking to a policeman, or I've never had to go through any of that. So I guess it's like, as you said, it's our privilege of not having to deal with that. But I think it's really important now that it's all coming to the forefront and everyone's talking about it, because I think that needs to happen. It should have happened a long time ago, but
I'm vegan, which I've talked about on this show a few times. And I've done, some animal rights activism, and like nothing I haven't done anything that is breaking a law, but clearly breaking a law or not is not what is going to affect, how police actually treat you. Honestly, they don't, but, it's like I do those kind of protests. I'll go into like Jersey City or whatever. And cops come up to you like probably once an evening. Like if you're out there for 3 to 4 hours on a Saturday night, probably at some point a cop will come up and like check on you. But it's like they come up and they're like, all right, what are you guys doing? Cool. Just want to make sure you're okay. And I think about like that experience in comparison to people getting like tear gassed and mauled. Like it's insane.
It's so terrible. And especially I guess that like me and my roommate were talking about this, and I was saying that like being from Australia, time difference, right? So like normally I would be waking up in the morning and then going onto social media or turning the like morning news on or something, and I'd be catching up on everything that is going on like on this side of the world.
Right.
But like being here in Toronto now, I am.
You're like, it's real time.
Side of the world. But so like it's constant. It's not that I spend my day and then I wake up in the morning and check everything and like catch myself up. It's like every time I go into anything, it's in my face. But as I said, I think that's like, as much as that's like a kind of scary thing and like might be messing with like people's ability to like just go on and have fun on the internet, it's also like super important, I think, for that message to be spread how it is. So power to everyone doing it.
No, it's good. And I'm always glad to see people, whether that's like people like us who are just like music fans and such, or it's people that are musicians, like Benji and Joel have tweeted so much about it, which is really great.
And I love that with social media, that you can like, it gives you a new perspective of the people that you already like kind of hold up on this platform in your brain. You're like, these people, I already like idolize them because of their music, and I know that they're good humans from what I know. But then like stuff like this happens, see how great that they're being with it, and you're kind of like, cool, I chose the right people to look up to.
A quick side note, are you a Dashboard Confessional fan?
No, I have only listened to like one of their songs, honestly, so I can't say I am.
So I just mentioned them, and we'll move on to our next kind of segment in a bit. But I just mentioned them because Chris Carrabba got in like a motorcycle accident recently, and he posted like it was like a picture of him like in a hospital bed, and then like a little note that said like, hey, I was in a motorcycle crash. Sorry, I've been quiet. Black Lives Matter. And then everyone is like, something like that. And then everyone is retweeting that and saying like, yo, if this guy who just got in a motorcycle crash can say something, no excuses.
No excuses. Oh my God, that's great.
It's so great.
I heard people say.
So Shannen, let's go back to We Believe a little bit. I want to hear what you think the song is about. What do you think it means?
Okay. I kind of think it was written at a time of suffering around the world. Totally. I guess like, so it came out in 2004. And I was kind of like looking into it a bit earlier, and I saw that like in December of 2003, the US declared war on Iraq. SARS was a big thing around that time, and terrorist attacks were becoming more frequent, and there was you know, poverty and all that terrible stuff going on. And I also think that like the media, what was this, 2003? I can't even remember that far back, but I guess like the news and the media was a big thing, right? So it was written at a time where all of that was so frequent and so in your face. Not as much as it is right now with social media, but I just think that it was a reflection of that, and seeing that kind of thing happening all around the world and feeling like there's something I want to do about it, so I can write these words to say where I stand. I think it's about like seeing that even through the hard times, there's always love to believe it, which is important.
Exactly.
And I think that's really powerful. And I think it's about like connection as well.
Ooh,
even though it's I think it's like talking about bringing up some things that are probably hard to go through or hard to talk about, but I also think it's saying that like we're all the same, and no matter where we are or what we're going through,
we are all the same. And
that's one of my favorite lines from that song. And I just think it's saying that, you know, we are all the same, and everyone has their own shit to be dealing with, whether it's on a grand scale, like being in a war zone, or in your own family or anything like that. But at the end of the day, like, love is powerful, and if we can believe in that, then it will be okay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's
kind of how I interpret the song.
No, that's perfect. All I wrote down was that it's about seeing a lot of messed up stuff in the world, and that's on the bigger scales, like, you know, the U.S. declaring war, but it's also smaller stuff like being a kid who's picked on in school, right? But
exactly.
But seeing that and ultimately still believing in love, it's kind of like Good Charlotte's version. So I said it's like Good Charlotte's version of a U2 song. It feels very Bono, right? But in this album that I found this interview that I found with ultimateguitar.com a little before the album came out, Joel was talking about how it sounds like Billy Joel or Elton John. Excuse me. And that he wrote it while watching CNN and, you know, trying to do something a little more grown up.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah.
I
coming off see that those two.
The Young and the Hopeless, and then like this album was such a departure from that, and I think this song is such a departure from that in a way.
Yeah. It's
just more mature and grown up.
I think. Okay, so like I'm gonna have a whole special episode at some point where I talk about my whole thesis on the central themes of Good Charlotte's first four albums. It's gonna be great. I've been waiting to do this for about 13 years, but you know, The Young and the Hopeless is a very like me against the world kind of record. It's very like self-centered, and The Young and the Hopeless is not even like me against the world. Yeah, no, it's me against the world.
Very like teen angsty. It's very like me against the world, and like what I'm going through internally as I'm a 20-year-old or whatever.
Yeah, it's me against the world, and then you have Chronicles. That's like a lot of Chronicles is more of that self-awareness, but also touching on that kind of global awareness in a way that's not like I'm just angry at the world. Like, oh, I'm like actually going to pay attention to other people.
I see that.
I think if we talk about this song specifically, especially with that note about, you know, them playing it at that festival in Mexico, it's kind of like a prequel to Prayers from Generation RX.
Yeah.
Especially if we talk about, you know, We Believe, like, you know, Prayers. But I think I want to get your thoughts on this, because I love to ask on this show, like, especially when I talk about the older songs, like, how would this song be different if it was written today?
Okay. Yeah.
And I think We Believe definitely reflects the time that it was written in, you know, early 2000s. But then you have Prayers in 2018 that's like, oh yeah, no, your thoughts and prayers are bullshit. Like, fucking do something.
Yeah.
So what do you think about how how it might be different today? I mean, do you think that this song is dated?
I don't know if this is my bias, but I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I think if they sat down to write the song today, I think lyrically it would probably still be very similar. I think that a lot has changed in the world, but the main points of what it's talking about are still super relevant. Like, people are still going off to war. There's still terrorism. There's still hunger. Like, none of that has changed. So I think it would still hold up for sure today. With like speaking about prayers, I think that they might, like, my interpretation is that they're talking about different vibes, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Prayers is kind of saying, you know, like, as you said, like, your words and prayers aren't are they being answered? They're not doing anything. So, like, actually do something.
Yeah.
that can make a difference. Whereas we believe is, I think, like, just commenting on, we need to believe in a bigger love. It doesn't necessarily have to be about a God, or
it's like we need to believe in love in order to do something, because what's the point of helping anyone if you don't believe in love?
If you don't believe in that universal love and pain. So yeah, I kind of see them as kind of different in that sense. And yeah, I just see prayers as like saying exactly that, like, your prayers and words, are they actually doing anything? Whereas we believe is very like, we need to believe in this bigger, higher power of love universally, to make a difference.
My tune on this song is actually changing as we're talking about it, because as I sat down to write it, I mean, you can see you see my notes, Shannen, that I'm just this is so dated. But you know, and I think,
and I do get that.
Yeah. And I think it definitely like reflects a lot of stuff that was going on around then, right? Like, just in terms of like, oh, we believe in love. Like, yeah, the world is messed up, but like, we believe in love, la da da.
Yeah.
But I think, especially as we talk about the fact that we believe in love because you have to believe in love and kindness and the fact that most people are mostly good in order to do something.
Yeah, that's completely how I see it. And like, even just like looking at the lyrics, like, and no one really knows what they are searching for. This world is crying for so much more. I think if we said that right now as a tweet in regards to what's going on with the world, like, it's true. Still a thing that makes complete sense today. So I feel like in my brain, it would still, like, if that was me and I was a songwriter and I wanted to write something about the world right now, like, this song would come out and I'd be happy with it, you know?
Yeah. I think if the song came out now, I would, it might take me a listen or two, because I think if it came out now, I honestly might think it was like cheesy, but then I think I would like, you know, I might see the video or just sit with it, and I probably would warm up to it a bit.
Yeah. And actually, like, now that you mentioned the video, probably, like, I don't remember the first time I ever listened to this song, but definitely the video would have given me, like, more perspective, you know what I mean? On, like,
exactly
what they're trying to comment on. And when you watch that video and see all the imagery that's being shown to you, it's kind of like, oh, okay, like, this is what they're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. I want to talk about whether this song is religious. So I have some notes from a very exciting website. But before we dive into this, do you think that this song is religious? Like, I mean, you kind of answered this, but do you think they're talking about we believe in God's love, or is it just more we believe that the world can heal because people are capable of love?
Yeah, I think from like me personally, I think the second option. I think, well, that's how I interpret it. Like, when I've listened to it and I've thought about it, I just think it's in my brain, it's very universal, so anyone can relate to it. It's not just saying we believe in this person in the sky. It's saying we believe in this universally higher thing that if we all can, like, find it in ourselves to believe in love and believe in loving each other, then we can hopefully make a difference.
You know what that is making me think of? Like everything you're saying about love.
What?
Are you an Angels and Airwaves fan?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
Again, I've like listened to one song.
That's fair.
But yeah, tell me why.
I love Angels and Airwaves. I ran a blog for 7 years called Circles and Sound Waves that, you know, the name was like kind of a mess of Angels and Airwaves. It wasn't like an Angels blog. They just inspired the name. The logo for this blog that I ran for 7 years was something I doodled for an Angels and Airwaves fan site. But they had an album called Love with 2 parts to it. And it came out, the first part came out 2010, second part came out 2011. And Tom DeLonge, that was what he was always saying, that he believes in love. And it's not a religious thing so much as like not even a higher power, but like an all-knowing thing and like a force in the universe.
Which I think is like me and my roommate were talking about this the other day. Actually, it came up and we were kind of saying how like religion and spirituality are different, right?
Yes.
So
completely.
I think that I would say this song is more spiritual on the spiritual side, in my interpretation.
So I found a website called ChristianTeenForums.com, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It is message boards full of Christian teens, but they had a discussion on the river where people are talking about, you know, whether the river was Christian. And then people start debating whether We Believe is also Christian.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
what did they say?
Okay, so user I am Filipino 89 says that We Believe is kind of a Christian song. Another user, Quenched, said they watched the video and that it's not as explicitly religious as the river, but that there are some Christian images if you look closely. User Lemon Shower says they were very happy when they heard We Believe and realized it was about Jesus. So, lots of dialogue on this post about whether or not they are really Christian, but like, I don't think it's any secret that Benji and Joel Madden are pretty religious, right?
Yeah, I guess they grew up with it and they were.
Yeah, I don't know what their, you know, life looks like in terms of like, do they attend church or anything, but I know that they are very strong believers. I don't know, like I go back and forth on this song. Like when I think of Good Charlotte songs that are religious, that are like, okay, this song is definitely about God, I think of like The River, and I think of Right Where I Belong.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I think of those songs that I'm like, okay, those are about God.
And I mean, they mention God in a bunch of songs.
Oh,
you know,
totally.
even
Totally.
And like, I feel like from like, if we sat down with Joel and Benji and said right now, like, did you write this with God in mind? I wouldn't be surprised if they said yes. You know what I mean? Like, it's very, like any song, it's very, like, anyone can take their they can relate and take their point of view whichever way they want. But like for sure, when you read those comments just before, and I'm like got the lyrics in front of me, I was like, oh yeah, I can fully see why if I was a super religious person, I would be, this is a religious song.
Yeah, and hey, if this means that someone is connecting to it, cool, you know.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what you want with your song. So
yeah, I think they do something cool though, that it's, you know, I would consider, like, I'm Jewish, but Judaism is a culture more than a religion for me.
Okay,
but
sweet.
Like I do consider myself pretty spiritual, but I wouldn't say I'm religious, you know? And I feel like, you know, even the Good Charlotte songs that may or may not be about God, to me, I'm like, you know, this feels very like, it doesn't feel like it's trying to convert me to some organized religion.
Oh, no, completely, you know, not at all. I agree. Yeah.
Even
I feel like I'm very spiritual too, and I think exactly what you just said.
Even The River, which is, I would say, possibly their most, like, religious song.
Talking about being baptized,
Yeah. Even that, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of, like, imagery and messages you can take from that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Shannen, do you have any like memories that you want to share specifically about this song?
I feel like I can't pinpoint anything specific about this song, but I guess just as I said at the start when I started talking about it, that I feel like this is one of the, like there's probably a few Good Charlotte songs that do this, but this is definitely one that I know does it every single time, that if it comes on in my car or on my phone or whatever, and I hear the strumming at the start, I just get this like feeling in my chest of like, this song is so beautiful and I love it so much, and I don't know how else to explain it. I just get a lot of feelings over it. And I think that's like, that happened the first time I listened to it, and I think that's happened every single time after. And
I love that.
I guess like, yeah, I don't have anything specific with this song, but I just know that it always fills me with this like feeling. But I also think that, I don't know, I think the bridge of this song is really powerful, and that's like my favorite part of the whole song, the bridge, when they're like, so this world is too much for you to take, lay it down and follow me, I'll be everything you need. And I was kind of thinking about this earlier, about what I would say about the bridge being my favorite part, and it sounds super cheesy, but I feel like that bridge relates so much to like how teenage me looked up to Joel Madden growing up, you know, like no matter how shitty things got in like my personal life, I could always put on like Good Charlotte records and tune the world out, and in a way like follow them or Joel or whatever to somewhere like happier and lighter. And that's so emo, but I feel like
no, I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, good. I like talking to people who get that, because
you came to the right place.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad. But yeah, that bridge just like always fills me with lots of feelings, and then I can fully relate that back to how I feel about Good Charlotte in a way.
Yeah, I love that. I my memory about this song is a lot more lighthearted than that, I think. But they had announced that they were going to play this song live at the Star Wars 3 premiere, and I was not going to be home when that happened, so I asked my dad to DVR it for me. And then I came back home, and he was like, "Oh, Mal, what did you want me to record? There was just some Star Wars thing. I didn't record it."
Oh no.
Yeah. And someone commented on YouTube that it's a great song, but it's weird that it's on a Star Wars premiere.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it just came down to, though, like, they were big Star Wars fans. Right? Yeah, and this was the single at the time.
Yeah.
So
I guess if you're a Star Wars fan, you're probably like, what is this? But
right. But probably, I think the band are all Star Wars fans, and probably they got the call that was like, do you want to play the Star Wars premiere?
Yeah.
And they were probably like, what?
Yeah.
Which I love. It's so great.
And you talking about like this song live just reminds me of like, this is one of my bucket list songs that I know I'll probably never see, but like I've always wanted to see it be played live. And I remember stumbling across like on YouTube many years ago, they played it like an acoustic version on MTV for the Hurricane Katrina like relief special or something. I remember watching that version on YouTube and like the acoustic version, and just like falling even more in love with the song and being like, I need to see this even if it's an acoustic version before I die.
Yeah. This will be great. This, and not to sidetrack too much, but I think my number one bucket list song that I will almost definitely never hear is Right Where I Belong.
Okay, yeah. That would be so live,
I don't think they've ever played that live, and I don't imagine they ever will, but like, my God, would I like cry?
Die.
That would be, that's my number one. Like, I'll go to the, just play Cardiology in full or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you'll be happy.
Yeah,
I think Seasons used to be my like number one of like, I would sit around and be really emo that I've never heard it live, and then I got to see it live acoustically, and I was like, oh my God, yes. And then We Believe.
When did you wait? I saw Seasons live acoustically too. When did you see that?
So I saw that live acoustically for the first time ever. I went on the Warped Rewind like boat cruise. And there was an acoustic set by Good Charlotte, and they played Seasons. And I was like, oh, I can die happy now. I
feel like that's one that they probably get a lot of requests to like play acoustic.
And I've seen that they play it a lot at the So like if you do VIP for their
Yeah,
shows and
that's
stuff
how
like
I
that.
saw it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the music video for We Believe.
Yeah, sick.
So it was directed by Sam Erickson, and basically the setup is that the band is playing in the empty Orpheum Theater I think it's in LA. And then on a screen behind them, you see footage of stuff kind of going on in the world, ranging from, natural disasters to riots and military occupation. And then there's people holding signs saying, "We believe," in various different languages. And then there's that cool shot at the end of some candles, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, when the room gets filled because it was empty first.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yes, I love that part.
I love that
imagery.
Before we dive into like this, powerful video that's definitely trying to spread a good message, I just want to talk about some of the fashion in this video.
Yeah. Like
so
the all white.
Very 2005. Very 2005.
Yeah.
Not only is Joel wearing all white, he's wearing a white hoodie under a white blazer, which like
I love it.
I love it. Yeah, that was such a look. Like he did that, and I remember being like 15 or no, I would have been like 14 or whatever, and just thinking that is so cool.
So cool.
Wow. Like that's such a look.
Being a Joel fan girl, like the whole Chronicles era of Joel Madden was my favorite. So like this music video, I remember just the first time I saw it, I was like, I'm so obsessed with this music video right now.
Well, this very much like encapsulates their fashion and kind of their whole look on Chronicles. I think like Benji has these long emo bangs, like they are like slicked down in his face.
Yeah.
Heavy eyeliner. He's got like the 3 lip rings. Billy has like a red velvet jacket.
Like a coat jacket. It looks cool.
Yeah, I don't remember what Paul was wearing, but he was definitely also wearing something pretty fitting.
Yeah.
It's a great video though. I mean it I think pretty much spells out, what they're singing about in the song.
Yeah.
But I think that candle shot at the end kind of adds like
it's really beautiful. I love the whole like people holding the signs and then how it's in their own language and stuff like that. I think that like really hits home with the whole like this message is universal, and so like
I wonder how they did that. Like
yeah,
how
I honestly I'd always watch it and think that they like asked some fans in whatever country to like be in their video, which I always thought in my head would be cool, but I have no idea what they did if they did that. But
yeah, I like imagine that it was one of those, send in your picture of you saying "we believe" in your language, but who knows?
Yeah, I kind of always had that in my head that that's probably what they did, but yeah, I have no idea. But I think it's really effective, especially amongst the other imagery that's being like portrayed as well.
Absolutely. I want to read some YouTube comments for this video. So there are many YouTube comments on this video, and just, obviously the whole reason I picked this song was wanting to do something that was relevant to, our current situation. So I was like, I wonder what people are saying about this song now. Yeah. So we're gonna read some comments. Some of them are serious. Some are you'll hear. So
okay, I'm excited.
Mutum 14 Freestyling says Corona needs this song to heal.
Oh,
I think that was very sweet. Don't think this song can heal coronavirus, but
no, unfortunately, I wish it could. But
people definitely, need this little bit of inspiration, I think.
Yeah.
Mrs. Turkleton says, I really think that this song is something this world needs to hear now. I'm terrified of the amount of hate this world produces. I'm terrified of people who forget that we're all the same humans. That was nice.
Yeah, that is nice. And I think that's completely like true.
Yeah. Irene Leyland, I don't know if I'm saying that right, says, anthem of our current situation, we believe in God's love. This too shall pass. That's pretty nice.
That's nice too.
Again, we obviously had, a whole discussion on whether this is about God or not, but I think it's
but
valid.
if that's what that person takes out of it, then I think that's great,
Exactly. But I've saved my favorite comment for last.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm like trying to take a breath so I don't like lose it while reading this. User Engantha7322 says, still believing, but not a believer. So
okay.
There you go. I don't know what the context was. Probably.
Are we calling Justin to tell him he lost a believer, or like?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but is this person like a former believer, or is this a person that's like, I will never be a believer? Or maybe they're like, I'm not a believer yet. That's kind of that's kind of the vibe I get. I'm not a believer yet.
Maybe.
I don't know.
So random. That's very random.
I know. But
I like that they're still believing, though. That's important.
Yes,
You've got to believe in something.
Exactly. I like that a lot. On the Good Charlotte's like comedy note, the New Zealand Herald had an article that was an interview with Joel, and the title of this article was "Release the Serious Brats."
What? Okay. What's it about?
It was just like an interview, and it's a great article. Great article. Yeah. They had a lot of insight about the album. Joel had some great things to say, and the writer had great commentary. Not to sidetrack too much, but there was a great piece in Rolling Stone from like 2003.
Yep, I was a baby.
That was called Good Charlotte, the Polite Punks. Which, like,
oh, okay.
That's a nice way of putting it, right? Release the serious brats. Like, what?
I like that.
I like that a lot, but I was like, oh my God. If I saw that, but if I had seen this article when I was like 13 and this album came out, I probably would have been like, what? Why are they calling them brats?
Yeah, why are you calling them that? Leave the child alone.
Yeah, leave them alone. Don't be so mean to them. But no, the article is great. I will link this in the comments for anyone listening. You should go read it. But this person says that this is the band's most ambitious album with its multi-layered instrumentals, unpredictable harmony shifts, and more serious approach. See? Great insight. We Believe has epic U2 guitars, and In This World has traces of the Deftones, and Up Yours to detractors who said the band were never punk enough. And then Joel says, I think we're finally comfortable being Good Charlotte, whereas before we felt we had to prove ourselves. We don't want to make pop punk, we want to make music that speaks to the whole world.
Yeah.
Very, very well said. That is like the title of that article just like gets me so bad. But it's a great interview. Like I said, a lot of insight. Yeah.
I love reading articles and like that actually go into like the important things instead of the bullshit.
Yeah, and I'm a writer. I'm a music journalist. Yep. Obviously, like my energy these days is more on the podcast than like writing, but like I've interviewed a few hundred bands over the past 9 years. I know what I'm doing. I'm also a big Good Charlotte fan. So, like, when I read, like, an interview with Good Charlotte that, like, is not a good interview.
Yeah, you're like, you could have.
I'm very judgmental. Yeah, I'm like, what? Why do you ask about this? Why do you ask about
that? Yeah.
But no, I also love reading, like, really good interviews. But on the other side of things, the Daily Orange, which is an independent paper in Syracuse, New York, wrote a review of this album, and they did not like this song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying that this is like, to me, it felt like a classic example of a pretentious music critic with a stick up their bum who was like really excited to bash Good Charlotte because they thought Good Charlotte wasn't cool.
People like that out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were just like, they like went in knowing they were going to hate it and say like not great things about it. And they're just like, how creative can I be in my like not nice things?
Yeah.
Right. So this person says, in their attempt to expand artistically, however, they missed the point. The song We Believe takes on an arena rock feel with a Bono-ish sounding chorus. Good Charlotte is, of course, no U2, and it just produces a dull 80s-ish power ballad that was out of style 15 years ago. So, you know, their viewpoints are valid. But I would note that I don't think Good Charlotte was ever concerned with, like, being on the trends.
No, I don't think I will.
Yeah. Last bit of press that I will mention is from Impericon Mag, who named this one of their 5 Good Charlotte songs you should never forget about. And all they said was there was, I guess, like a screen grab of the video. And they just said under it to caption, "See how Joel looks above? That's exactly how we feel when we listen to this song. Air grabs galore."
Aww.
So that's cute.
I love that. That's cute.
Shannen, this has been so much fun.
I'm having so much fun talking about Good Charlotte. I love it.
I love it. No, this is so great. And, you know, like you, I think that people in my life probably sometimes get sick of me talking about Good Charlotte. And, like, I started this podcast so I can have an outlet to talk about Good Charlotte.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, I'm just talking about my Good Charlotte podcast all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead of just Good Charlotte, right?
But that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like growing up, like a lot of my friends, no one ever said shut up or don't talk about it. But I was like the sensitive person who was like, I really want to bring this up, but I'm not going to.
Right. Well,
but anytime I did talk about it, my friends were supportive, so it's fine.
Good. So, Shannen, how has We Believe held up for you over time?
I feel like I probably am just repeating myself, but I think that it has held up very well. It's one of my favorite Good Charlotte songs on my favorite Good Charlotte record. So, and just as we've discussed this whole episode, I think it's just still very prominent, like the themes, what it's talking about, and the vibe it's giving off is something that is still relevant today. So to me, it's held up really well. I think it's one of their like best, what should I say? Like one of their best meaningful, inspiring songs.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love it so much.
I love that. I mean, you know, it's funny that, and it's great. And that's why doing this podcast is so great, that I can go into a recording having like one opinion of the song. Like I kind of went into this, I'm like, this song is just super dated.
Yeah.
Great message, super dated, you know.
Yeah.
But I think I've changed my tune a little bit. I think it's good to like kind of look at it with the nuance that we have. Like, okay, we believe in love because you have to believe in love in order to care enough to help people and to help the world. Yeah. So I think in that sense, it's held up.
Yeah. And I think in saying that also, like, just, I think as people, like the guys in Good Charlotte are all just like really great humans in themselves. So I think to me, because Good Charlotte are still my favorite band and are still like people that I look up to in like everyday life. Yeah. I think to me it's held up because of that, because I appreciate them as great people. So this song is a beautiful message being told by great people, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like to me, I think this song will always be a special song to me.
I could say, and I'll just leave with this, that I could say that someone who's like not a diehard fan like you and I are, who doesn't like know anything about like, oh, they're like pretty cool people. You know, I could totally see how someone like that could hear this song and just be like, and this is bullshit. Like, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of music though, right? Like, that person who says that has a right to that opinion too. I just think, I just think of, like, if there's someone who thinks that, then cool. But or if they can listen to this episode and then like be like maybe at the end of it, you know what? I do like that song more now. That would be great.
Or maybe they'll want to chat about it, and that's cool,
for sure.
You know.
Yep.
Maybe once I kind of finish, you know, every song on their albums, maybe I'll go back and like revisit songs, but I've got a little ways until then.
Yeah, you're going through them all, aren't you? That's a lot.
Yeah. So Shannen, I mean, Good Charlotte has been your favorite band for, well over a decade, but how has, what they meant to you, how has that changed over the years?
I guess like the main thing for me would be when I was a teenager, I was obviously like going through high school and growing up, and back then it was like my whole life is Good Charlotte, right? Yeah. It's like school's crappy, whatever. I have friends, that's great, but like what kept me like excited about the future and like doing things in life was like their music and seeing them in concert and meeting friends through them. But I guess as I've matured and grown up, I just really respect them as people, and I think I've been lucky enough to have some really cool experiences with them, and especially with Joel through my Twitter and everything. And I think that I've kind of grown up with this whole this whole appreciation of them as actual people instead of just musicians that sing just my favorite songs, So I think back when I was younger, it was all just like I had them up on this giant pedestal, and it was like, this is my favorite band, and I'll do anything.
They're perfect.
Like there's these perfect people that I love. And then as I got older and I matured and became like an adult, I guess I just respect them on a more like personal level as people, not just musicians, if that makes sense.
Okay. I get that. Yeah. And I think, you and I and any Good Charlotte fan picked a good band to love because we got to, the Wonder Years have that line. Growing up means watching my heroes turn human in front of me. And like, that's definitely true.
I've never heard that line, but that is like completely true.
It's true. And I've had that experience with other bands, but I've never had that experience with Good Charlotte. It's, if anything, it's like I've learned more about like, oh, they're like great people.
Yep. But I think that line is true in the sense that, that like, when you're younger and you look up to these people, they're just like these people on the TV screen or these people on the stage that are like, you hold really high up in your brain, right?
Yeah.
But then as you get older, you're like, oh, they're just people doing their job. You know what I mean? And like doing something that I love and I appreciate. So it's cool in that way.
Exactly. It's very cool in that way. So Shannen, do you have any last words about We Believe, about Good Charlotte, or about yourself?
Oh man, that's loaded. I guess We Believe is one of my favorite songs. So I would say to anyone who's listening that maybe hasn't listened to this particular song for a while, they should go listen to it now and like put their headphones on and close their eyes and just take it all in because it's beautiful. And I think just the song is it gives us a sense of hope for a brighter future. And I think that's what we need in the world all the time, but especially right now with everything going on. I think that I'm a pretty positive person, but like as of late, things have been hard for the whole world. So it's hard to see, but I think that this song just is a great song to listen to right now is what I'm trying to say. I mean, if any Good Charlotte fans want to hit me up, I have social media that they can come and have a chat with me on. And I'm just an Aussie fan who's grown up and still loves Good Charlotte.
I love that. So Shannen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Before we head out, so what socials can people find you at?
So I use Instagram a lot, and it's just my name, so it's Shannen Carlton. And then you can follow my Team Joel Madden Twitter if you like. It's team_Joel Madden. I guess I don't use it as frequently now because I feel like I've grown up a little bit, so I'm not on there all the time, like spamming Joel, being like, "Hey, talk to me." Sorry, Joel, if you ever listen to this, but that was me when I was. But now I like to think I'm a cooler human. So go follow me on there.
I love that. And then before we head out, so Shannen, I'm doing a Generation GC and Friends playlist on Spotify. So we're including, the songs that we cover on the show, plus a recommendation from each guest for like a non-Good Charlotte song. So I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but can you give me a recommendation? Just one song, something you're digging right now that you want to share.
Yeah, so there's this band called In Her Own Words.
Yes, they're so good.
Okay, sick. I love that you know them. I think they're from California.
Yes.
And they're amazing. And I follow them on social media, but I remember I follow the singer, and he seems like a really nice guy, and he's always tweeting about, because they're kind of like a smaller band right now. And he's always tweeting about how like he wants his band to succeed and to like do things, and sometimes he gets sad about he doesn't think it's going to happen. So this band is on TV, so I would 100% say go listen to them. And they've got a song called Right Now, which is a jam. So I would say to put it on the playlist. Yeah, awesome. I think people who like the track like them.
Awesome. I definitely agree. And I got to see them live like a year or two ago, and they put on...
I'm jealous.
Yeah, they put on a really fun show. Like I had heard of them, but I didn't go in knowing their songs or anything, but I saw them and I was like, oh, they're sick. They're sick.
Oh, cool. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, they're a really good band.
Shannen, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been awesome.
No worries.
I mean, it was so great hearing like your views of We Believe, and just getting to kind of have a really great back and forth. That was really awesome.
Yeah, this was cool. I feel like I haven't talked to anyone about like a specific song in fact. So that was really fun. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, listeners, thank you for tuning in to episode 19 of Generation GC. Last week, we talked about A New Beginning from The Young and the Hopeless. Next week, we will be talking about a song from Good Morning Revival. My name is Molly Hudelson. I've been your host. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And you can also follow me at mhudelson, MHUDELSON, on Twitter or Instagram. Thank you all for tuning in. Peace out.